Okay, so if you're a founder that is really struggling with getting leads from LinkedIn, then I find there's three core areas you want to focus on for lead gen. First, we have your offer. You want to make sure that your offer is clear, is very easy to actually present. You want to then make sure that you've got a good content strategy, and then you also want to make sure that you have a outreach system in place to then be getting leads, right? So I want to talk about all three of these areas and actually why exactly and how you can make sure that you are focusing on each of these. So first of all, let's look at the offer. So for the offer, you've probably heard a few things, but one of the main things I like to consider is can you be able to like point at it? Can you point at specifically what the offer is, what they're getting from the offer, and like what did it look like? How do they know they've like, achieved the offer? Just all those different things that you can consider, right? So, for example, right, you could have an offer that is very simply, I help, and then it could just be, say, this ideal client achieve, say, and then that could just be, this outcome, right? You can do that and that works, right? Because bearing in mind, when it comes to your offer, the most important thing you want is clarity. You want to make sure people know what you do. So, for me, it could be I help founders and then maybe instead of achieve, it might just be get, and then it could just be clients, from LinkedIn. Obviously, I'd probably put that in the end. Now, bearing in mind my handwriting's a bit rubbish, but that's fine. So you can do this, and this works quite well because this is very clear. It's very clear, and when people say see my profile on LinkedIn or already see this offer, they're going to be like, ah, yes, I know what he does. Cool. That's cool. However, the only issue is that that's not as desirable like to the actual ideal client. There's no like emotional connection, and it's not something that they can really point to in terms of what they're going to get. So I like to consider a few other things. So first of all, something you can do is, I think still be able to call out that sort of ideal client is good, right? So, call them out there. So if I'd put founder, that would probably be me. Something you can do is you really also want to think about the messaging and who you're talking to, right? So for me, because I want to work with founders that are, very much sort of like quite ambitious, I'd say, the people that are really trying to say, make a lot of money, really be quite successful. I might even want to call out who that is. So, for me, I might put ambitious, driven, or some sort of phrase that attracts the right people and repels the wrong people. Because the thing is, right, there's going to be different types of founders, right? There's going to be founders that really want to, sort of work hard and get the result. However, there's also going to be founders that are going to be quite lazy, that will want the easy solution, so on and so forth. So it's also important that you want to make sure that your messaging shouldn't just attract the right people, but it should also repel the wrong people as well. So you can see it like that as well. So then the next thing, obviously, as well is okay. Well, you've done that, which is great. So I help founders. Now you can do this in a few ways, right? Because if we're trying to also connect with their emotionally, and really make them lean in, right? To like, because we almost want to give that like feeling that hey, we understand them, like type of feeling, and that say maybe we've even been in their situation, because we almost want to try and describe their situation better than they can realize. So what you can do is put in a who. So I help ideal client who, and then you can basically describe their situation or something. So I know for me, this could be something like, hey, I help ambitious founders who, I don't know, struggle with outreach and content, or who sort of feels like outreach and content never work for them. So that could all be in here. And then it could be get, for example, I don't know, a certain result, right? So if you can pinpoint a certain like achievable result that they can point to, then that obviously makes it a lot better. So maybe for me, this might be 5 plus, say, booked calls, say a month, right? That's something that they can point to because it's very specific. Obviously, I've got 5 plus to sort of push that up. And then if I wanted, I could even put in like a time frame. So obviously in this case, I've already put the time frame, which is a month. That can just make it a bit more like specific so that that's what they can point to. And from then you could obviously add stuff in the end, right? So it could be say with and then maybe your offer. You can also have it like you can also with your offer you can do things such as so that. So let's say you've shared, hey, I help this person do this or help this person achieve this. What you can then do is then put so that and then carry on. So for example, it could be, I help and then ideal client achieve or get this so that, and then you can then put in that dream state that will be down here, which is going to make it clear for them. And especially if maybe perhaps your offer or your delivery system maybe like isn't that clear in terms of the result it brings, then that's when you can chuck that in there and it makes it a lot clearer for them. But I find this framework here does work pretty well when we're trying to make our offer clear. And the thing is, I mean, this is going to be a pretty good LinkedIn headline, right? So that's obviously something you can do, which will make it a bit clearer for you as well. The next thing you want to then focus on is you want to also then focus on things such as content. Now, for content, I really like to focus on being able to have 3 stages of awareness when it comes to content. We have problem unaware. So I'll just put problem unaware. We have problem aware, and then we have solution aware. So these are obviously 3 separate sort of like categories that we have here. And I found that when I was creating content for myself and even for ideal clients, I found that a lot of the time the content wouldn't really get the leads I wanted. It wouldn't really just work, if you get what I mean. And it was often because I was neglecting one of these areas, right? And I find that your audience will fall into one of these buckets, if you will, right? Because, like your whole audience isn't at the same stage of awareness, right? Some of your audience will be solution aware. Some of your audience will be problem aware. Some of your audience won't even realize they have a problem, right? So, for example, if I'm to talk about my ideal clients, right, which are founders, um, then okay, there are probably founders that are pretty solution aware. That's great. There's probably also founders that are problem aware, but there's also founders that probably are unaware of the problem specifically, right? And it's like, well, if I were to create content that was just for, say, solution aware or just for problem aware, then, or even if I just did these two both, which would still be pretty good, I would be neglecting the problem unaware people, which is probably a good amount of my audience, which really just leaves out that potential to get leads from content. And it's as simple as that, really. So, when it comes to creating content, you really want to be able to target each of these individual boxes. So for me, when it comes to creating this type of content, I like to think of a few things, right? So, if I'm thinking about problem unaware, one of the first things I'll usually do is focus on, okay, well, what are, say, misconceptions, or maybe just false beliefs that, say, my idle clients have, so that founders have, that maybe they currently have, that they don't recognize is a problem that I need to almost sort of highlight to them. Because what this is going to do is this is going to make them realize that they have a problem. And the thing is, right, no matter what stage of awareness they are at, if you can be the person that helps them get one step closer to getting their dream result, or getting one stage of awareness closer to getting their dream result, they're going to look more towards you or to you to help them get further, and or at least to hear that next step, right? So like this, the cool thing with this is that they don't have to be solution aware for you to get leads from them, right? Like for example, if you help someone who's problem unaware, realize they have a problem, if they if they realize they now have a problem and they want to solve it and they want to get that solution, they might just immediately reach out, right? They might want to learn immediately how to learn more about solving this problem, how to, if you can help them. But you see, it's just the way that, the different type of people you're targeting. So usually, misconception and false beliefs are good places to start with. So then we have problem aware. So these people that, they already know they have a problem. And so now it's just trying to figure out, okay, well, what can we do, say, to almost give them the solution? Because these are people who are problem aware, but probably not solution aware. So they don't really know what is working. Perhaps they've tried a few things before, but probably they're just aware they have a problem, but they're quite not sure about what to do. So really here, what we want to do, we don't want to necessarily be logical, right? We don't want to be logical, or at least in the beginning. What we want to do is really target their emotional state, right? Because we want to make sure that we show them that we really understand the situation. Because the funny thing is, right, if someone described your painful situation, that painful problem you had, in almost better detail than you realized you had, or at least you had it in your mind, then you're gonna be like, in your mind, you're probably gonna be like, yeah, I imagine this person has a pretty good solution, right? It just, you think about that. They might not even have a solution, but to you, because they really describe your situation quite well, you almost believe that they've got more authority and that actually they could potentially help you. So, with this, you really want to talk about, say, things such as maybe their pains, their fears, desires, maybe things they've tried before, other potentially roadblocks that are preventing them from going from where they are to where they want to be, and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, with this, I would also look to, once you've, say, talked about this emotion, then you can bring logic in, right? You can talk about, say, certain maybe systems, frameworks, or things that you use that maybe like potentially for yourself or for client that help them, say, with this problem, right? You could also give, say, more actionable solution that they can try. But the idea is, I think, with this content for me, is you want to nail down that emotion, show that you understand the situation, because that alone is going to make them feel like you have a solution and that your solution is going to work. And then you want to pull that logic in and start to chat about that as well. So, lastly, we then have the solution aware. So, this is pretty self-explanatory, right? These are people that know that, like they know the solution, but they're probably left in two situations, right? They're probably left in the situation where they've, say, like tried solutions, um, or at least, like they just simply didn't think that it worked for them, or maybe it might be the fact that they sort of lacked confidence in other people's solutions, right? Because obviously this is something that they can do by themselves, or say with like someone else, well, whether that be done for you, done with you, or do it yourself, right? So those are usually the two situations they're in. And the funny thing is that if you can, I mean, obviously it depends what your delivery style is, but a lot of the time it's probably you're going to help them get that result, right? So what you want to do is you want to instill that confidence that you can help them get the result they want. Or, like you could obviously maybe try and remove that limiting belief that they can't get it by sharing a result that, someone in their situation, say in their situation, went from where they are to where they want to be, and all of a sudden, by sharing that, they're like, ah, it is possible. And not only is it possible, but the solution, this thing here that helped them go from where they were to where they are now, it actually works, and that gives them the confidence to then reach out. So for this, it's very similar to what we did over here, right? We want to make sure we're targeting that emotion, showing that we understand their situation, and almost at least better than them if we can. And then it's pulling in that social proof, pulling in those sort of maybe video testimonial or case study or whatever it is that shows that, hey, like you can get this result. I can help you do it. This is the proof. Now, another note as well: if you don't have social proof, or at least that much. What you can do instead is simply share how you would help your ideal client get a certain result. So for me, it could be how I would help a founder get leads with LinkedIn, or improve their content strategy for leads, or whatever it might be. But that is just another way you can do it as well. But this is what is going to really help when it comes to doing that. And then lastly, we then have outreach. And for outreach, really, I find it's just quite good to put this into three stages, right? We simply have being able to sort of like start those conversations. We then have being able to uh, qualify. And then we have being able to, that are the three, by the way, that's terrible, propose the call. Right? I find that it's pretty much organized into those three areas. So when it comes to each of these areas, it's going to be pretty straightforward. So starting conversations, right? Starting conversation, the first thing you want to do is find intent-based leads. Right, intent-based leads are people that have made the first move towards you. So this will be profile viewers, people who engage with you, or people who have sent you a connection request. I find these people, just because they've seen your content, or even your profile, they somewhat know what you do. They might even be interested. So when you reach out to them and obviously share sort of where you found them, share maybe what you like about them, and even sharing, or at least asking a question, then this is going to start conversations off really well, and there's going to be less friction, right? Because you shared where you found them, which helps reduce that friction. And they're like, oh, yeah, I did view their profile, or oh, yeah, I did, like their comment. Then that makes it easier. You then share what you like about what they're doing. So this is personalized, makes it easier for you to show that you put in the effort. And then ask a question, which for me, I usually like to do a broad question in relation to my niche, just simply because this helped me direct the conversation in the right way. Then once we start the conversation, we then want to qualify. So for this, I usually like to find, okay, can I even help them? Do they even have a problem I can solve? So for this, I'll look to ask around, say, things such as their goals. Because if I want to ask, in terms of, say, their goals in relation to whatever I help, right? So for me, I might ask goals in relation to, say, lead generation or LinkedIn, because what that's going to do is it's going to make it very clear if they have a problem or not, right? Because some people will tell me, hey, they have a problem with leads, or or hey, they want to get this many leads, or they want to do this with LinkedIn. Great, they're an ideal client. However, some people will also come to me and say that actually what they're doing, or what their focus is networking for LinkedIn, in which they're not an ideal client because they're not going to want leads, right? They're just networking. So that's that, right? And obviously from there, it doesn't stop there, right? I can ask, okay, well, why haven't you, say, reached those goals? Or, what's holding you back, right? So the qualifying question should better help you understand if they have a problem and their current situation, what they've tried before and such, so that you're taking that time to listen to the situation and figure out what, say, you could recommend for them to then try in the end. Lastly, we then have proposing the call. Now, proposing the call, for this, you can do it in two ways. One of the ways you can do it is through social proof, and the other way you can do it is through suggestions. So, with social proof, this is self explanatory, right? I mean, to be fair, it's similar to what I've sort of talked about up there, right? If you can share in the conversation how you helped someone, like them in their situation, go from where they were over here to, say, where they want to be. Oh, we got too many arms there. Then it's a no-brainer, right? Because all you can literally do in the conversation is say, hey, I actually helped this person who is, I don't know, a founder like you, or like whoever they are, go from this painful situation over here to this desirable situation over here. Maybe like in this amount of days, or without this, or with this, obviously you want to add it on. Would you be open to hearing how I might be able to help you do the same? It can be as simple as that, right? You don't need to make it complicated, and especially if you have social proof. This is really the main thing I would always recommend you to do. Simple as that, right? And if you and like if you can share a screenshot, a video testimonial, case study, or something to prove that you've done that, which usually for me it will be a screenshot, then that makes it a bit of a no-brainer. And then from there, if they then say yes, and like, or that they are open to it, then you can simply suggest, say, two alternative times to make it easy for them to say yes to a time to book in. And then from there, it's a matter of just then hopping on the call and just simply chatting and being able to figure out if they even, like, if what you offer is good fit for them. The second thing you can do is through suggestions. Now, this is really for people that don't have much social proof or any, and they're trying to still book people on the call, obviously. So for this, really, you just want to position the call as, hey, like, I don't know, we've been chatting about this, this, and that. Would you be open to hopping on a call so I can better understand your situation and suggest a few things I might recommend for you, or that I recommend, for, like, for my clients, I might recommend for you, right? So you're simply just trying to suggest a few things that you think might sort of help the situation. Now, the only difference with this is that on the call, it's not, say, going to be more of like a sales call up here, but it will be, but at least the beginning stage will be like, hey, you want to fulfill on what you've sort of talked about, so you will be sharing, like, the things such as, trying to understand the situation and qualify them, suggest a few things. But at the end of the conversation, you can then say, hey, are you then like, are you open to hearing how I might be able to help you do this or help you with this, or however you deliver stuff? And if they say yes, then that is your permission to pitch, right? So yeah, sure, this approach here is a bit, I suppose, more long-winded, but if, say, you don't have much social proof, or maybe you're not even confident with, say, the social proof you have, or if you don't have any, then that second approach is going to be really useful, just to help get people on the call and be able to actually book them in on there. So overall, that is the three stages I believe like is going to really help you when it comes to being able to get leads on LinkedIn, right? Because honestly speaking, I've spent loads of time when it came to, say, things like funnels and posting on other people, like posting on other social medias and commenting daily, and none of that really helped. And I've been doing this on LinkedIn for probably over 500 plus days now, or however long, I've lost track. And I find that these three areas are arguably the most important areas. Now, if you have other areas that are working well for you, keep doing them. But I'm just saying that if you're someone that is not getting leads from LinkedIn, these are the three areas you should focus on, in my opinion. Now, if you're looking for more help with this or more guidance, on my website, I do have trainings that cover more in depth in terms of content and with outreach. So you can go and take a look at those. However, if you're someone like if you're a founder that is actually looking to learn more about potentially how I could help you, then make sure to check out my website and my work with me, or just DM me on LinkedIn and DM me more, and I'll share more details about how I could help you. But hopefully you found this useful, and I will catch you soon.